Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Champion Spotlight discussion for Marvel's Contest of Champions. We have a character who, in their current state, isn't awful, but was once a lot better, and I feel could either be returned to previous form or reworked to be made even better than they currently are, and that is Scarlet Witch. Now, Scarlet Witch is pretty vague in terms of the abilities that she does have, in terms of how they're listed. The description's not great, but that doesn't really undermine the amount of things that she is capable of doing. The biggest things with Scarlet Witch is that on her critical hits, or on any of her attacks that have a critical hit, she has a 90% chance to remove one buff from the opponent, which of course pairs quite nicely with the Mystic Dispersion Mastery if you've gone into that route, because it will allow you to regain some power and better cycle off your special attacks, which is always something that's good to see in these types of games. And then on the special attacks, she gains additional critical rating, a certain amount on the special 1, an increased amount on the special 2 compared to the special 1, and on her special 3, she has a 100% chance to nullify, removing all buffs from the opponent. Now, in terms of the abilities that she currently has, there's not a whole lot that I would really like to see changed, but I would think that it would be beneficial to her if any time a buff is nullified on an opponent, not when it expires naturally per se, but when it is directly nullified through an ability or special attack, that it deals a certain amount of damage to the opponent based off of Scarlet Witch's attack rating. I feel like that's within the realm of things that she can do. Now, when it comes to her signature ability, this is where the character really kind of gets crazy, as she has the Veil of Fortune, which plays into her chaos energy, chaos magic mechanic. That is what her entire character is based out of. And that means that whenever she lands a critical hit on her opponents, or anytime her opponents strike her with a critical hit, there's an 85% chance that a buff or debuff will be triggered. It's generally a buff on Scarlet Witch and a debuff on the opponent. However, there are certain aspects or certain instances where certain buffs will be placed on the opponent, and one specific example of Scarlet Witch being affected with a debuff type effect, and that being a power drain where it power drains both characters. Now, I wish I could give you the exact ideas of what happens with these, but there's not really a good indication of that in her character bio, and I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so I can't look up what the actual values are. But I do know that she can grace herself with a Fury buff, a Cruelty buff, a Precision buff, a Regen buff. She can give the opponent Power Lock, Power Drain on the opponents attacking into her. She can also inflict a stun. She can inflict weakness. There's a bunch of things that can be afflicted onto the opponent that she is facing off against. Now, if this character were to be changed, I think that the easy answer is let's just return her back to form, or back to the way that she was before patch 12.0, which is the one that really overworked her and a couple of other characters in the roster and really nerfed them into the ground in terms of what they were capable of doing before. And with the current status of a lot of characters in the game, especially a bunch of the newer ones, I don't feel like it would throw things out of balance to return these characters back to form. I also would not be against seeing a rework to Scarlet Witch's kit. However, because we've recently had a newer version of Scarlet Witch added into the game as a brand new character, I don't really see that happening anytime, especially because it did not happen at the same time that that character was introduced, or around the release of the WandaVision television show on Disney+. All of those would have been excellent opportunities for this character to be tweaked, altered, and revamped. However, I just don't really see that happening, which is quite unfortunate. If she were to have her abilities overhauled, I pitched the one idea of giving Scarlet Witch the ability to deal a burst of energy damage on the buffs being nullified. I also think that it would be kind of cool if you had a buff steal mechanic in the form of landing a heavy attack on an opponent that has buffs, especially for those characters that are in the cosmic class, which is what Scarlet Witch is supposed to have an innate advantage against, where she has the mystic classification in this game. But either way, I feel like there are a lot of things that could be done with Scarlet Witch, and even if it were just a simple return to the form that she was in before, I'm sure that many players in the community would be highly appreciative. However, she is not unviable in her current state. I mean, you're seeing here that she's able to take on a lot of the bigger bosses, and due to the fact that she does have the chance to regen back up her health, she is quite a viable option, especially for newer game players who are just looking for someone who can get them through the early game content. But what do you think? Do you think that there are changes that need to be made to Scarlet Witch? Do you think that she's fine how she is? Too strong, too weak? Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's analysis, make sure that you leave a like on the video, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.